All right, Ohio gozaimasu, and good morning, everybody. Did anybody like Metallica last night? What about Benson Boone? Did you see him? Great. Yeah, Metallica. They were really on. I'm tired. Yeah, I really slept with one eye open last night. Okay, well, we have a great morning for you. Are you all excited to meet Sundar? All right, Sundar, where are you? We need you, Sundar. Come on out, Sundar. Here it comes. Sundar, everybody.
Good to see you. How are you, man? Well?
Great. All right, we're so thrilled to have Sundar this morning, and it is going to be a great interview we're going to do here. We're going to spend 38 minutes, 40 minutes, as much time as you want.
Well, as much time as you want. So it's
true. It is as much time as I want. Okay.
Very, very excited to be here. It's a beautiful theater.
It is a beautiful, we're talking backstage. This was a famous theater for me because all of the Apple product launches that I loved were all here.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs was here, and I kind of feel like he left a little bit of his magic behind on the stage, and it's just a great place to be.
Good karma.
Absolutely. So anyway, Sundar, we know each other very well, and we have been to many, many different kind of programs together, and also a lot of personal events, some wonderful happy situations, some sad situations. We've had every possible situation together. And I think, when I was thinking about this interview on the way in, what occurred to me was, does everybody really know you? And I would really like just to take a few minutes and try to let people know who you are, because as I was saying backstage, you're from my very favorite part of India, from the south. Everybody knows I like a good masala dosa, and
makes two of us, so.
One thing I love about the South is, the women are in charge of the household, the mothers are in charge, and the gurus are the women. I met an incredible guru in Trivandrum, in Kerala, in the backwaters of the Arabian Sea, named Amachi, who was amazing, had a huge impact on my life. But that idea of growing up in South India and the values of South India and the mystique and the energy and the matriarchy, tell us about that, and then let's get you all the way from that point when you were there in IIT and Stanford. But first, let's go back to South India, and then just give everyone a flavor for Sundar.
Wow, I didn't expect it to start there, but definitely a trip down nostalgia. I mean, you're right, it's a special place, obviously. And, my mom had I learned my love of reading from my granddad, her father, and my mother. She used to be a voracious reader. She, because of financial circumstances, never went past high school, but she used to read a lot. And so that's where my love of learning and knowledge kind of, came. I think growing up there, obviously strong family values, extraordinary focus on learning and knowledge and acquiring wisdom over the years. And it's not an accident. I think it kind of led me to Google over time, given what our mission is and so on. But I had to wait for every piece of technology for a long time in my life. Waited 5 years to get a rotary phone, and when the phone came...
5 years for a rotary phone.
Because the government made it at that time, and there was a long waiting list.
Sure.
But the minute the phone came to the house, we were one of the first in the neighborhood. People would come to the house, call their families. It kind of created a community around it. So for me, it was incredible to see how getting access to technology can have this profound shift in your life. I had to wait for a long time to get access to a computer. So that's what led me to this journey.
How old were you when you first had access to a computer?
I'd seen and had you could get an hour of use maybe once every 2 to 3 months. But when I came to Stanford is when you could walk down to a lab and there were workstations, and I could open Emacs, and I was, it was a whole world.
That's where access was opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what always reinforced to me that all of us are in this world of we're trying to give people access to technology, and you see that step change that comes with it. And it's a journey, and with AI, I think we have a chance to do a step even more. You mentioned South India. I called the Prime Minister of India on Sunday night. I used to take this train.
Prime Minister Modi.
Prime Minister Modi. I used to take this train through the south of India, and there's this town called Vizag. It's a beautiful coastal town. Growing up, and we announced our, there you go. We announced our largest ever AI investment outside the US, a $15 billion, 1 gigawatt plus data center, 80% powered by clean energy with subsea cables going in. The chance to transform a region like that with a kind of investment, it really meant a lot to be able to call the Prime Minister, who really cares about developing the country, and this has been his vision. I know you know him well too, and so anyway, it's extraordinary to see the impact of all this.
Very exciting, and it's a great way to give back. So you really see that this kind of technology, giving access even to being developed, and this nod to South India there.
Yeah.
Very good. It sounded like there's a lot of folks here from India or no Vizag. So stand up if you're from India, actually. Would you be welcomed? Wow, look at that. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. So, okay, well, let's talk about that. So here we are. I think I've started the conversation in the right way. Would you agree? That we have to connect to India to understand you. And here you are, you're growing up in South India, you're getting a vision for technology, the idea that access is opportunity. You're now in pursuit of IIT, probably one of the finest institutes in India for technology. When did you make that decision that technology was going to be your passion?
Look, I mean, I was very interested in physics. I was fascinated with semiconductors and computers. And so to me, it was literal. I literally wanted to be, this place was called Silicon Valley, so it's the best advertising ever, right? As a kid growing up, you're interested in semiconductors, this wonder that you could turn sand into this thing, which is the substrate of the digital age. And so for me, I literally wanted to be in Silicon Valley because that's what I was interested in. And I was very inspired by the one laptop per child project from MIT, what Negroponte was working on.
This is the one laptop per child where they're going to try to put this kind of low-cost computer in the hands of every child in the world, but especially targeting India.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a very, very low-cost computer. Nicholas was really the visionary behind it.
That's right. And I have to, in some ways, I can directly link that to my work on Chromebooks many years later, right? So the fact that
must have been one laptop per child, that was in the mid-90s, I think.
That's right.
Right? 94, 95, 96. I don't remember the exact dates.
You were right, and around the time it came to the US. But what's extraordinary is his vision of making that possible. I think made a lot of progress, quite couldn't get there, but for me, it always, it later played out not just in Chromebooks, but we eventually ended up giving pretty much everyone a mobile phone, which is a computer in their hands with Android too. Now you have all around the world, be it in the US, be it in Brazil, be it in Indonesia, be it in India, Africa.
Was there also a browser on that Android phone?
That's right. What would you say?
There's a browser on that phone.
There's a browser called
We're going to
Chrome.
get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm going there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I think that inspired me, and so in some ways, the chance and the thing that attracted me to Google was literally in the mission statement, and I am very serious about it. The phrase to make information universally accessible and useful. That phrase is why I joined Google, because it resonated so much with me. Right? This is about giving access to information, knowledge to everyone in the world. And that journey continues across all of us. I think AI is the ultimate expression of that, right? It's really giving a true knowledge, collaborator, companion, however you want to think about it, to access to everyone in the world, regardless of where you're from. And so it's a great equalizer, I think.
Well, it's an amazing vision now, and you're in pursuit of IIT with this inspiration. You go sail through IIT. It's amazing. And then somehow you know you want to go to Stanford. Was that, when did that occur?
I mean, it's a fortunate opportunity, and for me, I had the chance to go to a few places. Stanford happened to be in Silicon Valley, so everything was straightforward. The only thing I felt maybe misled was the professor who emailed me said it's really nice and warm and beautiful weather, but I think kind of coming from South India, when people say warm, I remember the first time I went to the ocean and I was so excited, and I went into the water and I was like, no, this is not warm.
This is not the backwaters of the Arabian Sea. No, okay.
It's a bit different. Having said that, it is the birthplace of semiconductors, and the stories around, Fairchild and National. I mean, you see the history back, and so it's a real special place. So I felt home when I came here.
Well, you're helping me remember all of my great times in South India too, and the warmth and the energy and the mysticism and all that. And I remember a lot of times being there and spending time, with Amici, and also a friend of mine there, Amrita Srupa Ananda, as well. And it's just an incredible place. And it feels a long way from here, but I guess it's actually much closer, because here we are together right now. And so now here you are, you've kind of gone through that whole experience. You're all the way to IIT, and now you're on your way to Stanford. What is your family thinking at this point?
Look, I mean, now you step back. I just became an empty nester this year, and you have this incredible access to your kids, and it's still very, very hard. I can't believe in those days when I came here, it was probably $2.30 per minute to call back home, yes. Right? And so if you ever think the curve of how technology makes things more accessible, yeah, it was, we used to write letters back then because it was so expensive to call. Now, I'm fortunate enough, I see my parents regularly, and I'm, stay in close touch with them. But, they talk about, just like you kind of disappear from their life. But so I'm glad we're working all, I look at, there's a product we're working on called Google Beam, and which really, when two people talk, you feel like physically they are in the same place. Part of the reason I'm motivated by all that is like, you realize people today, imagine veterans being deployed and being away from their families or something like that. So I think it's important to connect people.
All right, so here we are. Now we're at Stanford. The favorite son has left the home. There's a distance.
Yeah.
You're lonely, it sounds like, at Stanford. You're missing the masala dosa. You're in Palo Alto. Freezing.
I was missing my girlfriend then, my wife
missing
now.
Your girlfriend, now your wife. Very nice.
She went to college with me, and so yeah, all of that.
Very good.
I spent all my money calling her, pretty much. Yeah. It's literally true.
Very good. Do you want to say more about that? What were those calls like?
At some point, we have to bring it to Agentforce and...
We really don't, actually. This is better than that. We've been talking about that for days.
Been talking about
yeah, we're already on board the Agentforce phenomenon. We got that. But well, this is more interesting. The girlfriend, the wife, the phone calls, freezing in Palo Alto.
I definitely didn't expect all of this. So.
Bathing in the Pacific Ocean.
Which I only did it once, by the way. Super cold. Still haven't quite gotten used to it. Where are we? No, look, I mean.
But no, I think it's important that we talk. First of all, you can see we have a great connection. Number one, but number two, this is the Sundar I know. So that's what I'm trying to do. I think a lot. Like I said, my ride in, I was just thinking to myself. A lot of people, they just don't have the opportunity to realize the person that I know so well, your heart, your life, your connection, And, now, okay, so anyway, let's just get back to the story. You're in Stanford now, right? And now all of a sudden you kind of see this new world, and it is a different world. You are in Palo Alto. It's not just cold. There's a whole thing going on, right? And so what is your biggest surprise now that you're in Palo Alto besides the weather?
Oh, I mean, look, I think, we take this for granted in the Valley and in a place like Stanford. And America is truly a land of opportunity in a way that phrase, I think very few people really understand, it deeply. And it's extraordinary. You can come here and, if you're willing to work hard, pursue your dreams, anything is possible, right? And it was kind of obvious to me once I came in, if you're passionate about something, you meet other people who are passionate about it. This is a place of dreamers and builders. You're excited about something, people want to build on that idea. It's almost like they want to compose that with you. That is so unique about the place we live in. And so that struck me as this optimism, this real desire to make the world better. And sometimes we all are so used to it. Sometimes I think, we get jaded with technology or something, we forget that. I feel it now when I travel around the world and you go to places where they don't have access to this technology, they so want to be a part of it. Here we have it, right? And I think we've gone through these waves, but that is the essence of this place, I think. And you brought it back to this is the theater in which Steve Jobs did some of those path-breaking announcements, but I think that's the spirit of this place. I felt it at Stanford, and I feel it today.
So now here you are, you're feeling it. You are connected to the energy of Silicon Valley, the magic of what's happening. Stanford, kind of the heart of it all, near the garages where these great companies have started, like HP, like Apple. You're starting to meet these cast of characters. It's like going to Disneyland, right? You're meeting Donald Duck, you're meeting Mickey Mouse in person for the first time. And now you're in Stanford, and are you at this point thinking, okay, I heard about this company, Google, it's 2004, this is where I'm heading? Is that the direction at this point?
Look, I was in Stanford in the 90s, and this was the time when Mosaic Mosaic had launched. And ironically, I think Larry and Sergey were at Stanford at the same time. I don't think I knew them, or we didn't overlap.
You didn't know them at the time?
No, I didn't know them at the time. I was focused on different things. I was very interested in semiconductors. That was my area of research. That's what I was working on. I was so excited to have access to all that. I almost didn't realize there was this thing called the internet which was happening. So, but a few years later, had the chance to get to know a few people. And when the internet was really taking off, when I started using Google early, and the first time I started using it, I realized this is going to give more access to information to more people.
This must be what, 96, 97, 98?
No, Google wasn't there. Google started in 99. I first used it in about 2000, right? 2000, yeah. 2001. Right. But I could instantly feel like you have this thing which is going to give access to technology to more people than anything before. You could use it, you could feel it. The fact that...
And where was that first time that you used Google in 2001? Where were you?
I was still in Palo Alto, but I was like working in the semiconductor industry. It's interesting to see back as we are going through this moment in AI, everything is coming back to chips, which turns out to be might be the real driver of intelligence, right? And it's not an accident that Google works on TPUs too, right? So it all comes back full circle. But that's the context in which I used. But it's just that when I used it, I instantly felt like this is where I want to be, and spoke to some people, ended up at Google, and soon started working on Chrome. Yeah.
And you went to Google, it was about 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
So 2004, so you've transitioned now from semiconductors.
Yes.
What semiconductor company were you at? I actually don't know.
For a long time, I was at Applied Materials.
At Applied Materials.
Yeah.
So you're at a great company, Applied Materials.
Yeah.
And now you've decided to go from Applied Materials, semiconductors, to the internet with
Yeah.
Google. And you go, that's a pretty big leap, actually, from semiconductors to the browser.
Look, I wanted to be closer to, when you're working in the semiconductor industry, sometimes you can feel far removed from the people. I wanted to be much closer to where technology was impacting people. And so I wanted to be closer to the consumer, and that's the chance with Google. 2004 was about the time in which you had the web was changing from just content pages to real rich applications. This was Web 2.0, it was Ajax, Gmail had launched, Google Maps, Flickr. You could really see the web evolve. You were pioneering software as a service too at the time. I mean, look, all of this was coming together. And
we were 5 years into Salesforce at that point.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going public, and Google was going public in 2004. Now, actually, you mention it, Google and Salesforce both went public that year, 2004.
That's right. I went back and looked. Our first partnership, I wasn't involved, between Google and Salesforce was 2007.
Yeah.
That was the first contract I could
That's
find.
not the first partnership. The first partnership was, I was presenting, ahead of our IPOs, and Larry and Sergey were in the front row. And I was presenting on our product strategy, but I also presented on our 1-1-1 model.
Yeah.
Which is the 1% equity, 1% profit, 1% time. And Larry and Sergey came up to me afterwards and they said, you know what? We're going to do that too. And we're going to create google.org and we're going to do the 1% also. And I want to thank them for that and thank you and thank Google for that, because it created a huge foundation with a huge amount of good. Yeah. And that was the very first time I had met Larry and Sergey, and it was an incredible moment. So, and just at that moment, you were kind of coincidentally joining Google.
That's right. And
so, was it before the IPO or after?
I think I joined. The IPO happened like 3 weeks later.
Fantastic. So they joined. You joined. The company is going public.
That's right.
Now, is it at that point? Now, who was CEO at that time? Was it Eric or Larry?
It's Eric. Yeah.
Eric. And is that when you said to Eric, "I'm going to take your job, Eric"?
The thing I did recall, it was in 2004, around 2006 is when, the thing with Eric, I still remember that. Me and a few others, we wanted to build a browser. And Eric had gone through the browser wars before, was super familiar with it. I remember vividly Eric telling us, "Are you crazy? You know what it takes to build a browser? We're not building a browser." We still did it anyway, but he was super generous. And once we kind of bootstrapped a browser, a small team, and then we demoed it to him and Larry Sergey. And once he saw how good it was, he became one of the biggest supporters of it. But that's how Eric and I interacted. Yeah.
All right, well, now you're squarely at Google, and it's a storied career for the next 21 years, from starting on this kind of incredible team that built the marquee browser, Chrome, all the way to today as the CEO. Reflecting on that, 2 decades, what is your thought across this arc from South India now to this leadership journey at Google?
Look, I think technology is one of the biggest enablers we know, right? It drives innovation at a fundamental level. If anything, that journey is accelerating, right? I think we are living in the middle of it. Sometimes we may not fully feel it, but the pace at which it's evolving, and I feel, and I'm sure Marc feels that way. Our job is to be good stewards of this technology, bring it in a way that really benefits society at scale, right? And so this journey to harness technology in a way that positively impacts humanity, I think that's what we need to do. We obviously do it in the context of building companies, but companies with a purpose, companies which give back. I think both Salesforce and Google share that deeply, and you inspired the Google journey there. I think there is no better technology to do that than AI, right? And one of the first things when I became CEO was we had gone through a decade of being a mobile-first company, and I wanted to drive the shift to being an AI-first company. So that's what we did in 2017. In fact, in 2017 at Google I/O, we spoke about this concept of AI-first data centers, and we announced our first generation of TPUs in 2017. But it's been a journey. I think in many ways, Larry, Sergey were visionary around always understanding the true potential for AI. I was fortunate to go through maybe 4 distinct moments which kind of like really brought it all together for me. In 2010, I went with Larry to the DARPA Grand Challenge, where they were testing autonomous cars, and we saw this car, the Sebastian's team, which won the DARPA challenge. So you kind of saw the progress that's possible. Jeff Dean, Jeff Hinton and team had come to Google, and so Jeff Dean demonstrated Google Brain in 2012, the ability for Google Brain to recognize cats using a neural network. That was 2012. I met Demis and team in 2014, and then in 2016 was the AlphaGo moment, right? So seeing all this, it was fortunate to be at that kind of a vantage point, which is why in 2017, I said the company has to be really focused on, it was obvious to me this was going to be the decade of AI. And so that was the journey since then.
Okay, so now let's go back about 3 years when we started to have some very interesting conversations, because all of a sudden, here's Google, the absolute leader in AI, DeepMind, now Demis, the Nobel Prize winning Demis. We never thought that was about to happen. It's incredible what has happened. Well, very well warranted. And now, 3 years ago, here you are, the leader in AI. You are leading the company through this transformation. You're putting guardrails in, appropriate guardrails. You're being conservative, appropriately conservative. And this little company in San Francisco called OpenAI emerges with this product, ChatGPT. And we start to see these crazy headlines that say, well, Google has a competitor, and here's the situation, and here's the real leader in AI, OpenAI. What's your reaction? And take us in that journey for the last 36 months.
A few things, right? I think one of the things which was misunderstood was, obviously 2017 was when we published the Transformer paper too. We started using transformers right away. We saw the power of the technology. Part of what made search so much better was post-transformer.
This is the paper, All You Need Is Attention.
Attention is all you need, yeah. And extraordinary paper. And you can say it's the foundation of everything since then, all of the Gen AI phenomenon. And we built something called BERT and MUM. So we built 2 transformer-based models, which is what dramatically improved search. We use transformers to make search better. We use transformers that's why we launched Google Photos. It was the first AI-native product. We were shipping a lot, and we were working on an internal version of chatbot too. In fact, it was a chatbot. It became famous because there was an engineer at Google who thought it was sentient. This was about 6 months before.
It was not sentient?
It wasn't sentient. Okay. On a lighter note, though, I did get a lawyer, like from the outside, send me a note representing this product called Lambda, and which is one of the more fascinating emails I've gotten.
So this is a lawyer representing the sentient chatbot.
That's how it came in, right? But look, we have to take all this seriously. Obviously, the technology wasn't anywhere close to that at that time. But we were making a lot of progress. But you're right, credit to OpenAI. They put it out first. And look, in consumer internet, it's not. I remember being at Google in 2006, and we were working on video search, and YouTube came out of nowhere. Or I'm sure if you were within Facebook, you saw how photos were popular in your feed, and Instagram came out of nowhere. In the consumer internet world, I would argue, pretty much all of us working on, we knew in a different world, we would have probably launched our chatbot maybe a few months down the line. we hadn't quite gotten it to a level where you could put it out and people would have been okay with Google putting out that product, right? It was still had a lot of issues at that time. I would argue
There's a lot of risk putting it out at that
putting
moment.
it out, and I would argue, OpenAI did their deal with Microsoft 2 months before they put out ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So in some ways, I think it was, in hindsight, it's a bit more obvious fully what it could be. But for me, when ChatGPT launched, contrary to what people outside felt, I was excited because I knew the window had shifted. We were building this technology. We had been building this technology for so long. We were so AI native. Everything in the company, every decision we had made, I had decided to take a full stack approach to AI, right? We were investing all the way from infrastructure. We built our own chips we had world-class research teams in Google Research, Google Brain, Google DeepMind, and to the models and so on. So I just realized this was the biggest opportunity in technology. We were incredibly well positioned, but we had to carpe diem, seize the moment, and execute well as a company, and that's the journey we've been on. We kickstarted Gemini. We brought Google Brain and Google DeepMind together, and we've been rapidly iterating since then. We have had, now we have Gemini 2.5 outside. We are working on Gemini 3.0, which we will release this year. And the progress has been extraordinary, and I think the progress in 26 is going to be even more exciting than 25, so I couldn't be more excited.
One of the things, congratulations. So now let's take a quick step into the future. So here we are, we've all been at Google, we've seen the huge transformation, not only of Gemini, but even AI preview and all the technology that you're pioneering. And I don't think I've ever seen the organization go faster and quicker and also be more determined. And it's good to have a competitor, right? It gives you a little extra motivation to get going. And number two is we see Google also innovating in some extraordinary ways. A great example is, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco recently, but we have about 500 of these white cars called Waymos going around. And it's amazing what Google has made. It's incredible. And I will just, look at that and also think about and reflect. Yesterday we had Brett Adcock here, who has this company called Figure with robots. And, I was asking him, what is the whole stack? There's the data centers, there's the AI, and there's this kind of robotic layer, this kind of that it takes many different pieces to build the whole system end to end. And, it's difficult, Brett, it was a brilliant interview, and he's just an incredible person. But he's got 300 or 400 or 500 people, obviously all incredible, led by an incredible person. But you have way more than that, and you have way more put together, and you're really far in a lot of these areas. You're very far on let's just start at the chip layer, at the data center layer, at the software layer, at the agentic layer, at the applications layer, productivity layer, partnerships, and at the robotic layer as well. So now there's no other company that has that. I'm sure that this is the conversation in the boardroom every day. I don't really know. But this idea that Google has this vision really guided by, and you have to give a lot of credit to these two kids out of Stanford, Larry and Sergey, who are still so active and see them around all the time and still so passionate and youthful. And now here you are leading this company, incredible company, these amazing values that we talked about. The heart of Google is still very much in place. Now, here we are, it's 2025. Now we look out over the next 10 years. People are always overestimating what you can do this year in 2025, underestimating what Google's going to get done by 2035. Take us out to 2035. Take us into your biggest dream. Where are we going? How are you going to harness the power from the tensor to the data center, the GCP, Gemini, the applications, the partnerships, the robots? What are we going to see? What is it going to look like 10 years from now in the mind of Sundar?
Look, technology.
Just that.
Just that, yeah. Both you and I have worked long enough that you have to be humble when you think about the future. But look, we make these long-term bets. Waymo has been a very, very long journey, right? I'm proud of the fact that over the past 10 years, we continued investing in Waymo. I remember the team 3 years ago when we were coming to San Francisco, we weren't sure how this would work out. The thought in San Francisco that you would have all these cars driving around and you'd have to get it right, putting safety first, et cetera. But in technology, you take these long-term bets. Just last week, and I'll answer your question, but just last week, I spent, maybe 2 weeks ago now, Monday, I'd gone to Santa Barbara in our quantum lab. I met with the team. Again, it's another journey. We've been at it for more than 10 years. I think we have the leading quantum lab in the world. I finished spending my day. I left on Monday, and Tuesday morning, I found our chief scientist there won the Nobel Prize for physics this year, right? And this is the second year in a row. You mentioned Demis and John Jumper last year. But we believe in that kind of deep fundamental R&D, right? And with a view of translating that into real products. That same quantum computing team, no different from our TPU teams, plans to have commercially available, real, at-scale quantum computers in a few years. And I think they will get there, right? So when you talk about now 10 years ahead, we are building this digital intelligence layer, not just us.
So 10 years quantum is real, is your point?
At least. I for sure think so. I'm very, very bullish and confident on it. I've seen that.
Is that going to put at odds cryptography as we know it today? Are cryptocurrencies going to be at risk with quantum computing that can break any code, available from a Google or other vendors?
I think in a 3 to 5 year thing, we will have that moment where, from a cryptographic standpoint, we have to adapt to quantum for sure.
Yeah.
But I think we will.
Will that create a moment of vulnerability, do you think, for all of these currencies and all of this stuff?
It will, but I think as a society, it'll also create an opportunity for people to come and provide new solutions.
If there is a trust gap at that moment, that could be very serious. So it's something that everyone needs to be mindful about.
Mindful of, and I think there's so much at stake. I think we will collectively work together. But on the positive side, if you ask me 10 years from, look, we are definitely going to have digital superintelligence as a collaborator for all of us. That is going to be a reality.
What does that mean? That has been a phrase that everyone is starting to use, but few have been able to define it. Digital superintelligence. And is that kind of where we're going then? It's 10 years, it's digital superintelligence, it's quantum computing. Like we were talking about AGI, that term seems to be dropped. That was this concept that the software is so smart, it's just writing itself, and the data centers are being built by robots, and it's just all going. In the book that Larry talks about, we are Legion, we are Bob, that we're all off in a rocket ship collectively waking up in a robot. Is that what we're talking about? No, because we were talking about that yesterday with Brett, and it was like, whoa, it was a trip.
Look, the one thing, we are so good at adapting. I think we constantly underestimate, right? Obviously, 10 years ago, we used to obsessively talk about Turing tests. Like we kind of moved past it. The fact that our self-driving cars driving in San Francisco, and you're right, they're driving around, it's kind of like people are, we just kind of like, I'm not sure my kids are impressed by that, right? So it's just, I am like blown away every time I get in one of those cars because I've, seen the progress.
How many people have been in a Waymo? Raise your hand.
How
many people have not yet been in a Waymo? Raise your hand. Oh. There you go.
I mean, you should before you leave, and I would check it out. But a great example is, I put my dad in the Waymo. I sat in the back seat. He was in the front seat. I watched the one forum. It felt like that science fiction, right? And my kids, they got on their phones and they were like, whatever, right? And so we have this remarkable ability to adapt. So this notion, they are just going to have, yesterday we announced this wonderful collaboration with Yale where, we used our open source models to build a cellular model on which you could target it hypothesized novel possible approaches. We took that, and we're able to recreate that in the biological wet lab scenario and see it actually works. This is for future potential paths for cancer. Like biologists are using AlphaFold. They are actually using open source Gemini models. But all this is happening. So I think if we underestimate humanities, we are such a remarkably resilient, adaptive species. You know, we're going to adapt to this technology, and it's going to be there around.
Are we going to evolve into this technology like people are talking about, or is our species going to be safe as as who we are today, or will it be an evolution, or what's in your mind around this?
You know, I'm always much more, I think our ability to harness this technology, I think we'll be able to do that. Some of your questions, maybe your guru might be better equipped to answer.
I think you are my guru at this point.
What's that?
You are my guru.
I definitely am not. And, I'm always hesitant to think that way. I focus on, we have to be very responsible. Look, it is powerful technology. And, I think the technology will be capable of recursively self-improving over time. So these are very profound questions, and we all have to be good stewards of it. I view at any moment, the technology is going to progress. We should embrace and innovate with it. Yep. The benefits are going to be profound, but our responsibility as leaders is to make sure we are leaving the world in a better position for the next generation than what we inherited. That's how I think about it.
We've seen Google. Great, excellent. You mentioned the importance of getting closer to the technology. This is your passion. This is one of the reasons you went to Google. We saw Google try to get even closer with the first version of glasses. We've seen that. Do you think Google will even do like a brain-machine interface? Do you see that level of interface?
First of all, the glass dream has never gone away, right? I think we are working very hard on it. In fact, there were many things which we worked on which quite didn't work because AI wasn't fully there, right? But now that you truly have, seamless AI with intuitive interfaces for people, be it voice, gestures, vision, etc., the multimodality of AI, Google Glass is going to be back, and I think it's going to be great. And your question was, sorry, I started thinking about Google Glass now.
I just need to flick back on your brain-machine interface.
Brain-machine, it makes a lot of sense to me, right? I think what Elon and team are doing with Neuralink is super inspiring. When you see the examples, again, when technology, people who have real disabilities and people being able to communicate again, etc., some of the most moving things I see, right? So I think it's
It's totally incredible. Here at the conference, we even had Eddie Chang from UCSF, who has this amazing new brain-machine interface company, Echo Neuro. We even had Brian Johnson, who had a brain-machine interface company. It was like multiple brain-machine interfaces.
This may be TMI, but I've been under anesthesia, and Eddie Chang operated on me. So for what it's worth, yeah. So
I didn't know that.
So he's a phenomenal.
A great surgeon.
He's a phenomenal neurosurgeon. I'm perfectly fine, but he's a phenomenal neurosurgeon, and so yeah, one of the best around in the world.
Very good. Well, Sundar, as we start to bring this to a close, first of all, let us express our sincere gratitude to you for everything that you are doing in your leadership and your vision, your direction, and also your core values are so well in place in yourself and in Google. Tell us, what would you like to bring to the audience and to the world in your final comments in this Dreamforce interview?
Look, I would, part of the reason I'm here today, we've obviously worked for a long time together. We use Salesforce extensively within Google. We've expanded our partnership over time because of the value you all bring. You've helped us be very, very customer-focused as a company. I think the opportunity we both see is, you've made this the theme of Dreamforce this year, the Agentic Enterprise. I look at the model trajectory ahead, as we are working with Gemini 3.0. In 26, we're going to make, we've already had dramatic progress over the past couple of years, but the progress ahead is palpably going to be, you're going to feel these models are going to be really intelligent agents, and they're going to be more robust agents. And what we are working together is to bring it in a way, as enterprises, you want all of this to work well together. You want this to be safe, secure, the governance has to work, but ultimately, you're trying to unlock the data in your enterprise and solve your use cases better than ever before. I think that is the real opportunity we have. What you're doing with Agentforce, we're proud to partner by bringing Gemini there, and the chance to do all this together for all of you in a way that makes sense for you is what I'm excited about. So thank you for...
Sundar, on behalf of all of us and Dreamforce, thank you so much for coming today. It's just a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks. Great to see you. Awesome.